Hey everyone, welcome to another episode and a new month, which means it's a new theme for the Coach Replay show. Kim and I are excited to get a chance to talk with you about this month's theme and kind of officially kick it off. So we're kind of hopping on to the commercial love bandwagon. February we've got Valentine's Day and all the things. And so for the love of coaching, that's kind of what our theme is this month. What kind of inspires us as coaches, what drives us, how we build relationships with others, how we help others fall in love with the coaching process. So Kim, I'm excited because I know you and I have connected many times as we've continued to work together and get to know each other about kind of just what has brought us into coaching and our favorite aspects of coaching, and just the things that kind of keep our cups filled as we support other coaches now in this role. So Kim, what brought you into coaching? Why did you become a coach?
I think, I became a coach kind of early in my career, and it wasn't intentional. An opportunity came up in my fourth year of teaching. And so I just jumped on it and said, why not? But I think for me, it went way, way further back than that. My dad is a retired basketball coach, 40 years at the same school. And a little
Hall of Fame basketball
coach. Little plug. He might be on the show here next month. So
yes.
look forward to that. But, 40 years, he spent a lot of time looking at film on Saturday mornings. I remember going to the game on Friday nights and Saturday mornings watching film with him. And back then it was like the VHS tape that would go in and come out. Right. Remember those?
Oh, yeah. I still have a few VHSs, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, and I'm sure he does somewhere. But I remember watching tape with him, and I remember watching him on the sidelines and the impact that he had on these young men who have gone off to do great things. Some went to the NBA, some played in college. He was just at VCU watching Vince Williams play. And so I've seen the impact that he had, and it wasn't always immediate impact. Kids didn't always say in high school, like as seniors, like you made a difference in my life, but you see it later, and I think really having an impact on people is important to me. It started with my students, of course, in the classroom, but I really felt like, how do I help people grow? How do I help, kind of navigate and push people gently to be the best they can be? And, what are the ways? And I think it started when I reflect on it. It started when I was very young, watching those tapes with my dad and, kind of seeing him coach, and we draw connections all the time. And we'll talk about this in our episode between coaching a sport and coaching in a classroom. And there are so many connections, and I can't wait to have that conversation. But that's where it started for me, I think, was way back then, the idea of supporting and helping other people.
Yeah, you kind of had that modeled for you, and the kind of the work that goes into it, right? It's not just I sit down with somebody and give them a few suggestions and move forward. Like your dad definitely put in the work to analyze the footage and bring that back to his players and create kind of those individual and team plans to help the whole team grow. And I think that's definitely powerful. So, and he is it Toledo's most winningest coach? I mean, he's got a lot of wins under his belt.
Over 700 wins. Yeah, over 700, which if you're anywhere near the sports world, that's a lot. A lot of wins, a lot of times to that, tournament at the end of the year. And so yeah, there was a lot of success. A lot of, he talks a lot about making sure that everybody knows their role on the team, and you may not be the shooter that has all the points. Your job might be something else, and everybody plays their part. There was a lot of locker room conversations that as a young kid, I probably shouldn't have heard from the door, because back then, he had some choice words to say, but
that's right.
But sometimes that's motivating for people.
Right.
So I think, learning how to motivate a high school student is not, is not a whole lot different than motivating teachers sometimes, and really, working from strengths and being part of a team, and all of it is connected. So.
Yeah. It's so funny because, we've talked about this before. Like we do have some similar paths into kind of leadership and coaching. And I too was plucked out of the classroom pretty early. I think it was about my third year, which doesn't make it easy to become an instructional coach when you're the youngest in the district and you're coming in to teachers who've been teaching since before you were born and you're offering them support and help. But, education wasn't my original career path. I share this with people all the time. Originally, I wanted to be a therapist. Art therapy was kind of my goal. But it was always in that seat of, I always loved helping others. I appreciated being able to be there just to listen to others, help them work through problems and help them find success. And so I think that's what brought me into special education. Was my kind of primary field in the classroom. And in my first year's coaching, it was under special education. And so that's just kind of transformed. When I was in the classroom, it was about advocating for my students, building off the strengths of my students, helping them, coaching them. I did a lot of one-on-one conferencing with my students, and a lot of strategic partnerships with students to help them, build from those different strengths in my classroom. But then I remember shortly before I was kind of provided an opportunity to leave the classroom, I remember standing in my classroom the first week before school and being a little frustrated. We had just gotten new news about things our state was doing with state testing, things that weren't going to really benefit my special population of students that I was supporting. And I had already stepped into some teacher leadership roles within the campus. And I was thinking, I just need to step that up a little bit, help these other teachers, because, my students need that support, not just when they're in my classroom, but anytime. And I'd really kind of a few of those teacher leadership opportunities, like even just helping some of my gen ed teachers understand, because I was at middle school, some things they could do to support struggling readers, kids who were still on like a third grade reading level. And I would hear from teachers a lot. We hear this a lot from beyond third grade ELA, is like, I'm a literacy teacher, I'm not a reading teacher.
Yeah.
And so just helping those teachers and seeing the impact that had on my students and other students within the school, it really shifted from supporting my students to really wanting to make a bigger impact with many students, which meant I needed to get with teachers and support them. And so it's really evolved, and it wasn't all done right. I didn't have formal training with coaching. We didn't have formal roles and responsibilities when we got started. You and I have talked about this as well. Like, we've made a lot of mistakes, or just done things in ways that could have been done better just because we just didn't know any better, right? But we've continued to learn from those. And I think that's the thing that's exciting for me about coaching. It's not only the impact that we can make in all the students, that we help one teacher and we've helped all of their students in that, but it's keeping teachers' passion alive in the classroom, which is important for me. And then now, you and I do a lot of work with coaches and other leaders, coaching them on coaching. And I think that's even more impact that we're making. And we get to share all of the messy mistakes that we've made and learn from with those folks. What do you think about that?
I mean, I definitely resonate to making a lot of mistakes. I've talked a lot on the show. When Pete Hall was on, we had this conversation, and he was kind of like, "We're not talking about," he reframed it a little bit for me. Yeah, but
I've made teachers cry. So
yeah, and
I've cried with teachers, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think for me, like you said, I did not have formal training. I think more than a decade ago, gym night was around, and Paul Bamberg Centoyo and stuff, but I don't know that it was as widely spread as it is now in terms of people who are coaching actually getting some sort of professional development or learning themselves. I didn't have it, and I did my best, but in the beginning of coaching, I made a bunch of copies for people, and I walked around and said hello, and I helped in planning for sure. but I don't know that I saw that much instruction. And at the end of the day, we can sit around a table and plan a lot, but I don't know if that had impact on students. So that was one of the big things for me was not always being in the classroom at first. You spoke about being young. You know, I was at the same school that I had, you know, my first 3 years of teaching experience. So there was some navigation with that. Working with adults is very different than working with students. I think sometimes really great teachers become coaches, and that's not a bad thing. But also working with adults is like, there's a whole adult learning theory that needs to be developed, and like isn't always part of the learning process for a coach. And then on top of that, some of the coaching that I got, I didn't feel like serve the teachers the best. Some of the coaching that I got about coaching did not align with some of my values, but I did it anyway because I'm like, well, these people know more than I do. And so I'm going to do what they say. And I ruined relationships at times. I've apologized to people for the way that I had coached them because I felt terrible, you know, and this is just me being honest. I did not do right by teachers. I had very much and was taught to just, I have all the answers and I need to give you all the answers. And, you know, and that is just, we talk about it all the time now. And I've changed a lot of my viewpoints, and I've kind of molded into a different person, you know, because of these mistakes that I've made. But, you know, I very much now believe we have to go off what teachers want to work on. You know, you have to build those relationships. It's not about my agenda. I've learned to really listen. I've learned a lot about leadership and what that means. You'll see Brene Brown's quotes back here. I listen to her podcast all the time religiously. And, you know, I really think that being a leader is about really trying to help people be the best they can be. And early on in my career, I thought it was because I had all the answers. So I'm going to give all the answers to you.
Yeah.
And wow, was that wrong? Like, was that a mistake or what? So I'm sorry. You know who you are out there. I've already apologized, but I apologize again on this show.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's, you know, that was kind of and I think it's a lot of like who we recruit to be coaches are often those who are kind of at the top of their game in the classroom. And so we pluck them out of the classroom and put them with a bunch of adults and expect them to have the same results. And, you know, they know what worked well for them. But yeah, you're right. Like if it really is that leadership isn't watch me and do what I do. It is, you know, building that capacity in others. And yeah, so same, like I've made teachers cry. Sometimes that's out of, you know, just overwhelm. I get really excited and I'm like, we can do all the things. And I didn't listen to where they were with their own self-efficacy, with all the other circumstances, and just flat out overwhelmed a lot of teachers, or, you know, just gave feedback in ways that were not helpful, not constructive, not building, but they were the ways that other coaches that I knew had given feedback. They did come from this kind of, well, I've been in the classroom just a year or two, and let me come in and tell you what I think you could do better. And yeah, I look back on the coach that I was, 10, 12 years ago to the coach I am now. And yeah, I definitely, there's a lot of change there. And I work harder in some aspects, but I work less hard in other aspects, right? Like, because the teachers are really able to drive it. And I think that's the thing that I love most about coaching is not necessarily the impact, right? Like I'm driven by that purpose in coaching, but I coach for those moments of like just the excitement again with a teacher, or those little aha moments, or those just the small wins. Those are the things I love about coaching, where teachers recognize it for themselves. Like that, those are those moments that I like, not where I get to say, hey, you did that really great, but where they go, hey, I kind of did that pretty good. And I'm like, yes, you did. And, you know, we get to move forward. Or when they, you know, just kind of get that just enough that they want to do more things. That is exciting for me, that kind of eagerness. And I think a lot of folks enjoy that part of coaching. We were just talking about, it's awesome to coach people who want to be coached. But I think what's even better. Yeah, exactly. What's even better about that is when you can convert somebody, right? Who maybe wasn't really into it, but you really build that trust and you show them you're there to listen, and we can align visions and common goals and really do some awesome things together. And that doesn't mean that it has to be that you do what I say you have to do. Like sometimes just having the other person, and they really start to kind of buy into the process. So I want to invite folks to share what you love about coaching with us. Drop it in the comments, tweet about it. Be sure to tag us, mention us, all of the things. But I think we've got to remember that there are those moments where we can really change someone's life as a coach. Teachers who are burnt out, who've lost the passion, who no longer see the good in their work. It's mundane, it's draining. If we can be there to help them, be that lifeboat for them in those moments, even if it's just listening, not necessarily fixing something in their classroom. We aren't here to necessarily fix anyone, but we're here to support them. If we can be there for them and help them ride that tide and then to better waters where they can feel accomplished and successful, even if it's their last year of teaching, they kind of end on a high note. I think that's the really powerful part of things.
Yeah, and I think about, too, the impact that we have with beginning teachers. I had the pleasure of working with the North Carolina New Teacher Support Program for 4 years before I moved here to Chicago, and shout out to those coaches who are really doing amazing things.
Amazing.
They focus on beginning teachers who may be coming from a different career, like you said, a different career path, or traditionally trained, but knowing that somebody might go through student teaching, but after that, they really need continued support. And we came in as an outside opportunity for schools or districts. And the amount of teachers in those beginning years, there's so many things left to learn. There are so many things that they're just kind of like, I don't know. I don't even know who to ask. I don't know what to, and so the impact and the amount of teachers that came back and said, not just to me, but to my colleagues in that program, because of you, I'm still in teaching, because of the support that you gave me. And then think about the impact of classrooms and classrooms and classrooms of children, of students. And so I think that I love beginning teachers because of that. And I love veteran teachers too, because there are new ideas that we can offer. But supporting beginning teachers for sure was one of the highlights of my coaching career so far, because there's so much to learn. And the impact is just very great. If you can keep somebody in the profession for those first 3 years, that's the toughest time while they're learning. And so I really just enjoyed that. And of course, also, like you said earlier, having the opportunity to coach new coaches to help them avoid the mistakes that I made. Hopefully everyone's going to make some mistakes. There's no perfect situation, but certainly try to help.
Yeah. And to help those coaches stay in it, right? Because our teachers need support, and it's been disheartening to see in recent years, especially lots of coaching programs being, kind of taken off the table because either there was not enough kind of return on investment that the school saw, or it was just not seen as necessarily needed. In some cases, the past 2 years, coaches have had to go back into the classroom because there's not enough classroom teachers. But if we can really help keep those coaches in those places to support all the teachers, then again, like that's just expanding that impact. So
I love that.
So let's talk a little bit as we wrap up today about an exciting thing that Sibme is launching this month as well. I think it aligns really well with our theme here on the Coach Replay Show, because it's all the feel good stuff, right? So it's called the Bright Schools Challenge. Kim, you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, so I'm excited about this opportunity for schools, school leaders and teachers to get involved. We really believe that schools are magical. There's been negative attention around schools recently, and I think that this gives us an opportunity to change the narrative on that. And we know that schools are wonderful places. It's hard because not everybody gets to see the inside of schools. So we want to highlight some great things that we see. So what we're going to ask you to do, we have two different, and you'll get this in the takeaways for today's show, but we have two different calendars here, let's say, starting on February 14th, because it is Valentine's Day, and we are talking about love and how much we love this work that we do. We have a teacher calendar here that starts on the 14th. And then we have a what we call excellence archaeologist, which would be any school leader, could be a coach, could be a principal, could be a district, anyone who leads people. You have your own calendar here to choose from. And these things are meant to be very, very simple. Email something. The first one is like email something encouraging to a colleague, something that's going to take minutes, seconds of your time. But really, if we can create this narrative where a lot of people are joining this, think about how much joy we might bring people this month. So we want to offer you, if you are a Sibme user and you do use Sibme, you can do this within Sibme in a huddle, or you can choose to post on social media and make sure you at Sibme app and hashtag Bright Schools Challenge when you do that, so that you are so that you're recognized for this work. And there may be some prizes along the way. We'll see. But we just really want to encourage you to go out into the world and share all of the joy that's happening, because we do want to create a positive narrative, recognizing things are tough, but there is so much joy in the work that we do. So that is the Bright Schools Challenge. Please help us. And if you are going to do it and participate, drop it in the chat. Let us know.
If you want more information.
For sure.
Definitely. Yeah. And I'm excited about this because, again, like one thing that we've recognized in the schools we work with, not just across the US, but in some other countries that we get the privilege of working in, is that rejuvenation period. It's talked about in the stages of the first year teacher. Typically there's this we have a pretty rough end of the semester and then come back rejuvenated, and we can kind of really capitalize on that. A lot of folks didn't have that. For some, it was just the structure of their calendar this year. They were kind of wrapping up a 9 weeks, 2 weeks after they got back. So they came back to the pressure of getting all the grades in and everything else. Others, we had a new variant come around, and it hasn't been the rejuvenating winter break that many of us need to really push through the rest of the semester. And so that's kind of where this challenge kind of came from, was like, how can we find some ways for teachers and leaders to help identify the magic because they're tired, and how do we make that simple and easy, and maybe even reward some of the awesome things that we see. So definitely some prizes involved in here. Again, you don't have to be a Sibme subscriber. You can definitely do the challenge anytime. You can start it anytime. So you don't have to start it on the 14th. You can really take the 30-day challenge as you choose. You could even just do a week, see how it fits for you. But if you're looking for a way to kind of bring some excitement back, find the magic a little bit for your teachers, there's some great ideas on this calendar. So again, you can access it on our notes and takeaways. All right, y'all. Well, we have, again, an exciting lineup for this month, and hopefully everybody fares through this big winter storm most of the U.S. is finding themselves in. We're actually pre-recording this episode on Thursday because we don't know what tomorrow will be here for Kim and I.
We don't know.
So you can hear my girls are playing Pretty Princess behind the computer because they've got a snow day today. So
they're doing something back there. Hey, girls.
That's right. I get the crown almost every time I play that game. Just I'm the lucky spinner. But yeah, join us for the Bright School Challenge. Make sure you share with us, what do you love about coaching? And of course, we always welcome ideas for other things that we can bring to you in your show. But we're excited to bring some folks who are going to be coming on talking about, sharing that love, spreading that love and leadership and teaching and learning. And so be sure to join us next week for another episode. All right. All right, Kim, I'll see you on the other side. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Bye, guys.